If you're making videos for YouTube search and they're not showing up regardless of the titles that you use, the tags that you use, the descriptions that you use and all that, you just can't get your videos to show up in search, I'm going to tell you why. And we're starting right now. This question comes from Caesar's Family and Kids. They say, so if I have my tags with seizures and my title with seizures and my channel name, that won't get a result from search for seizures? That doesn't make any sense at all. How will I grow when people can't find my channel? This is a fantastic question. It comes up quite a bit actually. And the reason it comes up quite a bit because a lot of people have the same exact problem to where they're using the right title, they're using, the right words in the description, they're using the right words in their tags, but no matter what they do, their videos still are not showing up when somebody searches for whatever it is that they're making videos about in YouTube search. And just in case you don't know what metadata is your title, tags, description, captions also as well. I think also and as well pretty much mean the same thing, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. But when it comes to YouTube search, the important thing to think about is, of course, giving context to what it is that your video is about is extremely important for YouTube systems because, adding keywords and keyword phrases and making your, video metadata about that thing, it's important because it does, regardless of what you'll hear, it is important to helping their systems identify topically what the video is about because, the captions, they'll figure it out. Your title, tags, and description just help make that process faster and simpler for their systems, and it just makes it to where it's a lot more accurate. But YouTube search isn't just title, tags, and description. When it comes to YouTube search, there's other factors at play as well. For example, YouTube tells us that at YouTube search, we prioritize 3 main elements to provide the best search results: relevance, engagement, and quality. And then they tell us, and I'm telling you this part right here, just so that you don't mix up what quality means by their interpretation. They tell us that for quality, our systems are designed to identify signals that can help determine which channels demonstrate expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness on a given topic. So it's important that you understand that, but wait, there's even more. YouTube also tells us in the YouTube Creator Academy that when people have the myth in terms of this situation that we're talking about right now, my videos have fully optimized titles and descriptions, why don't they rank higher? The truth, and they say this in the YouTube Creator Academy, search considers many signals, including the watch time of a particular video for a particular query. Okay, so let's unpack some of that information. So basically what they're saying in a nutshell is they're saying that what's important to them is they're trying to identify the stuff that is the most relevant to the query that people are putting into their system. So for example, if I'm looking for, how to train a dog, then they are showing the videos based on what it is that I'm looking for in terms of videos that are optimized for how to train a dog. And while that's being factored in, their system is also looking for authoritativeness on that as well. So if you have an entire channel full of dog training content, then what's happening in that situation is you are increasing your authoritativeness on that particular subject. And then they also add trustworthiness to it to where if you're just always giving out great content, people are coming back, you're giving out good advice, you're not doing anything like shady or anything like that, then what you're doing is you're basically putting points in the system, without a better way to say it, you're putting points in the system for those things in terms of YouTube systems identifying that you are the right person that has that particular piece of content that is trustworthy, that their users can get a good quality experience from when they show it to them in search. So if we take that even further and we also apply the other things that are important to YouTube in terms of click-through rate and how much watch time they generate per impression for, each place that you show up on the platform, then the same exact thing applies to YouTube search as well, to where is if you have your video optimized in terms of all the right metadata, title, tags, descriptions, captions, all that good stuff, but you have all the right metadata in there, but you can't get people to click on your video, or once they click on your video, they're not watching the video for a fair enough amount of time, or they're not engaging in that video in any way to show YouTube that it is a quality experience for that viewer. Well, guess what? Your videos are not going to continue to be presented in search because when they do show up there, people are not clicking on them. So instead of showing your videos there, when you are optimizing them for search, instead of showing your videos there, they're going to show videos in those spots that are proven to give people that satisfactory experience instead of showing yours in that particular spot. And right about now is where you're probably having the thought of, hey, Nick, that all sounds fantastic, but if I'm, making these videos and I'm competing against all these other videos on the platform that are, authoritative over this subject and they're optimized well for it, and they're getting people to click and getting people to watch. Like, how can I even try to get a shoe in for some of these heavier search results, like or higher traffic search results? How can I do that? The typical approach when it comes to that you'll always hear people talking about is to go long tail. And what that means is that when you are optimizing for YouTube search, the particular topic of your video and the keyword or keyword phrase that you're optimizing for, you're actually going long tail, which means that you're being very specific about who it is that you're trying to reach or what that video is actually about. So let's say, for example, that I'm targeting YouTube tips, and I'm going to use myself as an example because you are familiar with my content. So if I was targeting YouTube tips, then of course I would optimize around YouTube tips. That would be part of what I was going for, maybe the main keyword or keyword phrase that I was going for. But in order to give myself a chance to rank at something, like let's say I was a new YouTube channel and I was competing against all these other people, then in that situation, I would go for something more long tail or more specific, like YouTube tips for beginners, YouTube tips for new YouTubers, or, all of the different ways that people are looking for YouTube tips. I would just go for something very specific that way. And by doing so, I'm being very specific about, how I'm optimizing that video, but I would actually research all that stuff first, so I can actually be very specific about the actual content as well. So I can make sure that the content that I would be making for that particular term would be a fantastic fit if somebody did run across it in search and if they did click on it, so that they can get all the stuff that I told you is important to YouTube. But when you're trying to go for something like a single word like seizure, for example, it can be really difficult because basically there's not tons of context there in terms of, just what exactly is your video about seizure. Maybe YouTube systems has identified that when people look for that specific word, that they're looking for an example of that happening, or that they're looking for instructions of what to happen or what to do if they happen to be in an environment where that happens to somebody. And what their systems are doing is their systems are going through and they're basically tracking what it is that people are responding to when they're looking for that one word. And then when they're looking for that one word, YouTube is going to always surface the stuff that people respond to the most and the things that follow the information I told you before in terms of, being authoritative and trustworthy and all that good stuff. But in addition to all of that, the hardest thing for content creators to get over, the hardest hump, so to speak, for content creators to get over is the hump of, I'm making this content, I'm optimizing for it, but I'm not showing up. Why? Right? And one of the biggest problems is because when people are making content, they're optimizing it for search, they're either not doing their research beforehand. And again, you can use TubeBuddy or Morning Fame for this, but they're not doing the research beforehand to really know who it is that they're trying to rank up against. And because of that, they're trying to go for something that's really difficult, that they're going to have a really difficult time if they can even squeeze into that term at all. But in order to even get in there, they have to have really, really high response content. When instead, they could go for something more long tail and very specific, which would in turn be easier to rank for. But don't get me wrong, like that stuff is also competitive, but it's typically easier to rank for because you're being more specific and the content that you're making is also specific to that part of that subject. But here's the thing. When it comes to YouTube, and this is the hard pill to swallow that I was talking about. When it comes to YouTube, another thing that content creators don't want to face a lot of times is that if you're not showing up, let's say that you are competing for something in terms of search rankings that isn't very competitive and you're still not showing up. Well, you're still just getting completely outranked in that situation. Well, that's because when YouTube does show your content there, people are not clicking on it, watching it, further engaging in it, or they're not getting that satisfactory experience that YouTube is after. And therefore, they move your video down and they move the videos that do give that satisfactory experience, or that people do click on more, that they do watch more, that they do further engage with, that they do share with people and all that. They move those into those higher spots because those are proven performers on the platform. So something that's really important to think about in terms of long-term growth on a YouTube channel is that, how they were talking about authoritativeness on a subject, right? This is where niching down comes in, where you're always hearing people like me talking about niching down, making sure that you know who it is that you're trying to reach so that you can make the content that they care about. The reason for that is because of that whole thing, right? One, because it turns your channel into a resource of a certain type of content, but also because it can make your channel an authoritative channel, an authority channel, to where when people are looking for information on that thing, then your channel is one of the ones that are popping up all over the place. So in your specific case, for the seizure channel, in your specific case, keep making that type of content. And if you keep making that type of content and you're optimizing it all properly and you're getting people to click on it at a fair rate and you're creating a good experience when they actually watch it as well, and you can see this in your audience retention reports, but if you can do those things over and over and over again, you can keep seeding that content for all these different search terms that are long tail or that they're very specific, then in that situation, what you're going to do over time is you're going to build that authority. You're going to build that trustworthiness. You're going to build videos that are going to be referring, people to other of your videos when they are watching, the single video. And because of that, YouTube will over time be able to identify that that is what your channel is about, that the whole, everything about the channel is about that type of content. And therefore, when people are looking for specific things around that type of content, then YouTube will, of course, help yours surface as long as you're optimized for it and as long as people respond to it. To learn even more about growing your YouTube channel, click into this playlist right here. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.